Yeah, this is why Chuck Schumer was wrong to have allowed the previous funding bill to go through without a fight. He was wrong back then, and now he's realized how wrong he was now, only because of the outsized pressure coming from his constituents. Oh, you mean democracy? A politician has now decided to listen to his voters? Oh, how shocking of a concept. I know. Like, that's the principle of electoral representation. That's literally what it is fundamentally. Yeah, I saw this one. Dems at record low approval because instead of walking out the moment they saw the Trump 2028 hats, they sat down for a friendly chat and let themselves be photographed. It's true. It's just a weak moment for the Dems. Like, that's just like one could argue like you have to literally let it happen. What are you supposed to do? Like, he's not going to
in the Middle East.
What is this guy talking about? Okay, I can't look at that right now. Hold on. Oh, I have so much shit happening. Okay, I'm going to have to go back downstairs to grab my food real quick, but here, I'll leave you with the government shutdown news, okay?
Where it is day 2 of that government shutdown.
Oh, because of the tear gas, I need to shower. No, I'm fine, dude.
Threatened mass layoffs, and now he says he's going to take aim at projects that are important to the Democrats. Nicole Killian is on Capitol Hill with the latest on this. Nicole, good morning. Always good to see you. Is there any sign of progress toward a deal here?
Well, good morning, Gail. Right now, things are at a standstill here on Capitol Hill. The House and Senate will pause to observe the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, meaning this shutdown will continue for another day, leaving thousands of federal workers in limbo.
From the Capitol to the Washington Monument, signs of a shutdown are everywhere. The National Zoo, part of the Smithsonian, is open for now, but could run out of funding by next week. No treat for Yael Krigman, who has owned a bakery across the street for more than a decade.
When they don't go to the zoo, they don't come across the street to Baked by Yael, and we lose out on sales.
Around the country, the federal fallout is growing, with an estimated 750,000 government workers furloughed. And in a call with House Republicans Wednesday, White House Budget Director Russ Vought warned mass layoffs could come within the next 2 days. President Trump claimed Democrats would be to blame.
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault. And it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut.
The Trump administration announced Wednesday it would withhold $18 billion in funding for transportation projects in New York City, home to Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
Do you think you're personally being targeted?
The Trump administration is targeting the jobs, thousands of jobs, of hard-working Americans.
With all sides seemingly dug in.
Does this look partisan? Does this look dirty to you? 24 pages to fund the government.
A glimmer of hope on the Senate floor as Republicans and Democrats huddle together to find a path forward.
We are not that far apart. This is not that difficult to solve.
Krigman hopes they cook up a solution soon.
Decisions have consequences. I know that as a small business owner, and I think that the government needs to understand that their actions have consequences and they hurt real people.
While furloughed federal workers will get back pay, many of these small businesses that rely on them do not. When the Senate returns Friday, Republicans plan to push for another clean funding extension, but Democrats insist any deal must address rising health care costs. Tony.
Nicole, thank you very much.
There was an OMB memo going around suggesting that there might be firings during the shutdown. Do you think that will happen if the shutdown goes for a little bit of time, sir?
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault. And it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place. And I will probably do that.
Dynamic and
given the way that the president has been tweeting memes about you.
I hate how this insane things are, yet how normalized it is. Like, it isn't even in the top 5 most insane things over the past month. What are you talking about? This could throw flames on the already looming economic crisis. Yeah, I think one of the most interesting aspects of the full faucet of psychotic behavior coming from this administration has been that, like, things like a violation of the Hatch Act, which in other circumstances would be considered consequential, is not even like the 8th most important thing that they've done today, this past week. It's like, this is directly a violation of pre-existing law. Like, you are not supposed to be campaigning with federal resources. Like, federal government resources are supposed to be for all Americans, right? Not specifically for Americans who voted for the president, for example. You're not also supposed to use the existing federal government resources to campaign. And yet, that's precisely what this administration is doing. And they're doing it with this level of intensity. I mean, they're doing it so shamelessly, you know? They're doing it like they don't feel like there's going to be another election, if you know what I mean. This is the violations are numerous. It's also okay. This is Noura. I ordered food from the place that the Uber driver recommended. He was Lebanese himself, and I'm gonna keep it $1.50. I'm gonna be honest with you. This shit look bomb. This shit already looks bomb as hell. Okay. Trump says be gay, do crime. Pretty much. Oh. Literally 10 minutes after you left the protest? Oh, so we did miss it. They did rush. They did charge. Huh. Now that's a site that I'm familiar with. Akaba. Or whatever the Frenchies were saying. Akaba. Akabre.
You has been, in your words and the words of Democrats, already dismantling healthcare. What makes you think that he will negotiate anything? What makes you think that he and Republicans will cave to you?
Public sentiment. At the end of the day, the public knows that Donald Trump and Republicans have shut the federal government down, and that they're continuing to engage in the chaos and the cruelty and the corruption that we've seen from this administration from day one of the presidency. Again, this is the first week of their shutdown, but we've had months of chaos and cruelty unleashed on the American people. And the American people are paying close attention. And they know that it was Donald Trump and Republicans who have shut the government down. They also know that House Democrats are fighting and Senate Democrats are fighting to protect the health care of the American people, because the Republican health care crisis has been devastating to people all across the country, devastating to working class Americans, devastating to rural America, to urban America, to the heartland of America, to small town America, and to black and brown communities all across America. We've never seen anything like this.
Once again, he's 100% right, but also 100% Rizless.
In terms of the pain that has been inflicted on the American people by Republicans, House Democrats are simply making the case that we need to cancel the cuts, lower the costs, and save health care.
I'm going to once again show support for my Rizless champion, because in spite of it all, he's holding it down. He's keeping it together. So far, so good. They're doing the right thing. this is a moment to, at least for this issue, stand behind the Democrats. They are right. They are totally in the right. Totally in the right.
Not even a little bit, not even at all. This is what Republicans love to do. Whenever we fight to elevate the minimum wage, to expand Social Security, to make healthcare better in this country, in order to derail that, Republicans love to dangle this shiny object that says, but what if someone not like you gets it? The fact of the matter is, undocumented people do not and cannot access and be covered by the ACA, Medicaid, Medicare, period. There are dozens of laws in the books that enforce that, and that can be a whole other conversation. However, the fact is the Democratic proposal doesn't change that either. We are trying to change the immediate cliff where the ACA, as well as community health center funding and other kinds of healthcare funding, are about to go off a cliff and hurt millions of people.
Yeah, there's 20 lawmakers who are meeting informally trying to maybe circumvent their leadership to come up with ideas. But I think Democrats have totally overplayed their hand.
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally overplayed their hand. As in played a hand. Any hand. That's what's going on here. They've played a hand for the first time ever. And that's why so many people are like panicking. So many politicians and media figures are reacting as though you're not supposed to play by these rules. Like, what's going on here? You're not supposed to fight back. You're the Democrats. Why are you fighting back? Totally overplaying your hand here, sir. That's what it is. It's like they are 100% right for forcing a government shutdown in this circumstance. And the reason why they're doing it is specifically to protect Americans' health care, their premium payments, and their healthcare coverage in general. And what's so crazy to me is the overwhelming majority impacted by this will be Republicans. They are literally, for once, not only playing politics, but are doing it at the behest of decent policy, at least within the confines of what we have. Obviously, the best possible thing would be universal healthcare or socialized medicine of some sorts. Obviously, we're not going to get that. We're on a defensive posture right now. And in terms of the defensive posture, these are literally Democrat politicians putting their social capital and their political capital on the line to defend the healthcare of right-wing MAGA rural areas, first and foremost. What an insane situation to observe. That's what's so nutty about it. These guys are primarily, obviously this protects everybody, right? Like this initiative hurts everyone. But if we're looking at proportionality, if we're looking at who gets over the most by this, it is unironically Republicans in rural areas. Okay? I cannot stress this enough. We get it, dude. You're woke transgender. Exactly. That's the response from the Republicans overall. Is like, you're just woke transgender, bro. Shut the up.
Well, they need 60 votes, and they have 55, so they need to get those 5 more. So they're, because Rand Paul was the only one on the Republican Party that didn't vote for it, so they need 5 more Democrats to come over. You have those 3 already.
I don't know about y'all, but one thing that frustrates me about this process is one thing to have different policy prescriptions and debate the merits. But when one side says this is not in the bill, these things, I mean, I've been going through this morning. It's hard to read through this legislation and figure out.
Yeah, bro, because you're not literate, okay? As is expected from a Fox News host. Let's be real. Yeah. Your job requires you to not be literate. If you were literate, you wouldn't be able to do your job. So yeah, no wonder it's hard to read. Anyway, it's just one dumbass thing aside. I cannot believe that a Fox News host has the audacity to say Democrats are lying about what's in the bill. Dude, the number one message from the Republicans about what the Democrats want out of this is straight up giving $1.5 trillion worth of health care to undocumented immigrants. Like, that's what they've been going with. What do you mean? It's just pure projection.
What each side stands for. But when you go on national TV and you say, hey, there's no funding in here for illegal, and you know that's not true, that makes it hard for Americans to decide what is false and what is true, and judge it by not only the...
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I spoke too soon. He was in the process of lying while simultaneously claiming that the Democrats are lying about what's in the bill and what's not in the bill. He's not so close, chat. He's just lying. This is like when Israel says Hamas is like Nazi Germany. It's like, dog, you are literally Nazi Germany. What the do you mean? Like, you're the guy doing the thing, and you're claiming that the Democrats are doing that thing that you're doing right now to the bill. They didn't send me any cutlery. God damn it. To eat with my hands.
President comments yesterday on our program, but Jackie's report as well. There is clear funding for illegals in this bill that they wanted.
Yeah, well, if you work for a company, you have a budget, and that's exactly what our country has. We have a budget. We just need 7 more weeks of funding. So the Republicans are saying, let's just pass exactly what we passed in March and fund our government for the next 7 weeks. And they're angry at the Democrats because they're saying people are going to go without paychecks. People are going to be furloughed just because they want to throw in this money for illegal immigrants. And they're blaming it on Chuck Schumer and AOC because they say that she will probably be primarying Chuck Schumer in his next election. And he was killed for supporting Republicans in March, and he doesn't want it to happen again. Here are some...
Yeah, this is why Chuck Schumer was wrong to have allowed the previous funding bill to go through without a fight. He was wrong back then, and now he's realized how wrong he was now, only because of the outsized pressure coming from his constituents who at the very least are aware of how deep the cuts are going to be to Medicaid. $800 billion. All of this, like, oh, it's because he's worried about getting primaried. Oh, you mean democracy? Oh, you mean that, like, a politician has now, for one reason or another, decided to listen to his voters? Oh, how shocking of a concept. I know. What the do you mean he's worried about a primary? What are we talking about? They should always be worried about being no longer elected. Like, that's the principle of electoral representation. That's literally what it is fundamentally.
The Democrats, the Republicans, and AOC was approached because she was saying, well, if Republicans have a problem with this, they can come to my office. They can sit down and talk to me. Listen to this.
I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly.
There was a thought from the Republicans that AOC is directing this, and she said that senators are welcome to go to her office directly. Is she?
Why are you saying such a ridiculous thing? Why are you saying?
Yeah, no. She said go to her office directly. Do you think there's any?
She is not directing this. She's wonderful. She's a real team player and the rest of that. You started by saying Republicans saying that she's directing this. She is not. Hakeem Jeffries is. And this takes a lot of experience, a lot of unity from the caucus in terms of...
She also literally said, as far as the Chuck Schumer stuff goes, she straight up said, now's not the time for this conversation. Like, now's the time to defend healthcare for millions of Americans. Like, that's what she said. I saw the interview that she did. I hate the way American politics is conducted because, like, it's basically slop tubers all the way down. Like, people behave like slop tubers. I guess that's just how politics is. But it just sounds so silly to be like, well, clearly she's the leader of the party now. Like, they're trying to create division here amongst the ranks. Why are you causing drama? Is a wild defense towards the media. It's true. They are doing that. They are deliberately. AOC said if Republicans think like I'm responsible for this, they can negotiate with me directly. They can come to my office and negotiate with me directly. This is not about that right now at all. That's the Republican claim. They invented the meta slop tubers and picked it up? Probably. That's true. Oppo has always worked that way. Is this Connor's biggest guess? He had Elon Musk, bro. What are you talking about?
The point
Connor's going to have Big Gav on. The gruesome Governor Gav. Finally, someone's doing some real politics on this godforsaken platform.
view, and that's what this is. She's an articulate spokesperson for her point of view.
For her point of view.
She doesn't like the premise. But it's what
See, once again, more drama. You reply to it, and then they derive more drama out of it. Oh, the girlies are fighting.
AOC said, so you can keep yelling at the reporter or the anchor.
Yeah.
It's what AOC said.
That's right. She was quoting AOC, but we were reacting to this because she's saying she is not directing this. I like her. She's amazing. But she's not in charge, but I like her. It's Hakeem Jeffries. She is not directing this. This takes a lot of experience.
Right, what she doesn't like, because she is the speaker emeritus.
Right,
I mean, I don't know. They should probably remove that. But she likes being in a position of power. But AOC is 100% right. The party is being governed by her ideology right now. And honestly, I don't know why we're inviting the leaders, Jeff.
Bro, that's so funny. Like, yeah, they think positioning this as like, positioning the government shutdown around AOC, they think is going to be a successful way to undermine it. They're trying to draw internal conflict from the party as well in an effort to tamper with messaging discipline. They're hoping that the Democrats will start panicking because they also are under the false notion that like AOC is actually an incredibly unpopular figure. Except if you're Nancy Pelosi, you know you are the least popular figure when you were in office. Like AOC is unpopular nationally, sure. But the least popular figure in office was Nancy Pelosi because she was the leader of the Democrats. That's just how it is. Meanwhile, AOC being presented as the leader of the Democrats is actually going to boost the party's profile. The reason why is because AOC is not as unpopular as stupid media figures think she is. Yes, Republicans hate her. Yes, this plays a role in her approval rating. But she is nowhere near as unpopular as the way that these guys present her as. And especially if she has more leadership roles or more time in the spotlight and can potentially exhibit the same kind of like messaging discipline that Bernie did for years. I think if she could show herself as a strong figure for progressive politics, maybe even some radical policies, she could boost her media profile spectacularly. Ultimately, it's not about one person's charisma, even though charisma plays a role in this, and entirely about the policies. That's it.
And Schumer said, we should just cut to the chase. Go straight to AOC and have the debate with her about what's in the bill, not going back and forth with Schumer. Schumer is being influenced by AOC right now because he knows the right thing to do.
I love the fact that you have the vice president out there first and leadership in the Senate and the House, because the president, if you noticed him a couple of days ago, he's announcing he's going after child cancer with AI. He's talking about getting your health care bills knocked down. He's dealing with the military and their new, with Pfizer. He's dealing with the new military. So he can continue to govern, and he lets everybody else get into the mud. And you can stay in the mud. Let the president be the president. I think it's a great, way to approach it.
Don't you think, Brian, when you watch Nancy Pelosi, that's the problem with the Democratic Party.
100%.
They're walking a fine line. She wants to be the establishment in the Democratic Party. I was in charge. Now it's Hakeem Jeffries. I passed the torch to him.
Wait, so there is a difference. For as many years as I've been alive, they say Nancy Pelosi is a communist. All of a sudden, now you have to present like drama within the ranks. You have to say, well, Nancy Pelosi is an establishment Democrat. She's more moderate. I thought she was a socialist communist. What happened? All of a sudden, now AOC is the socialist communist and Nancy Pelosi is the reasonable moderate? Wow, what a change of pace from the Fox News Republicans here. if you find this to be sincere in any way, shape, or form, by the way, I got a bridge to sell you. They're only doing this because there is a left flank of the party and it's gaining momentum. It's gaining popularity. That's why.
AOC, we appreciate her. We're trying to appease all of the squad, but they're not really in charge.
Do you remember, Ainsley, I know you do, why Joe Biden left? It was Nancy Pelosi that finally had to step up, sound off, because nobody else, including Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, would say a word. So she finally had to take control
She and
again.
George Clooney.
Right. And so, yeah, George Clooney. And because Barack Obama didn't want to do it. So she had to do it again, and she might have to step forward here, but she has to realize, like Ted Cruz in 2013, like the Freedom Caucus in the past, you may agree with their premise, but they don't have the leverage.
That's right.
The leverage is on the right now.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here.
I don't know if you want to take ownership over all this stuff, man. I really don't. Like, these guys are talking about a steaming pile of shit, okay? They're pointing to a steaming pile of shit, just straight up hot garbage, and going, look at how awesome this is. We control all of this. I mean, the economy is dusted, okay? It's busted and dusted. Cost of living crisis completely out of control. No solutions whatsoever. The only thing that this administration is invested in doing is like is using a militarized police force against like neighbors. Can you explain why Senate Republicans don't use the nuclear option, fund the government with a simple majority with a rule change, or is that not an option here? I don't think that's I don't think that's up for discussion as of now. I don't even know how they would be able to do that rule change, but
I was walking here in Washington, D.C., and who did I bump into? One of my favorite members of the United States Congress, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
And one of my favorite senators.
All right. Anyhow, as everybody knows, we are now in a government shutdown. Republicans are attacking Alexandria, attacking me. Why didn't you vote for this clean CR to keep the government open?
Well, there's nothing clean about it. This is one of the dirtiest tricks that is being pulled on the American people right now. Starting today, October 1st, and throughout the rest of the month, Americans across this country are going to start getting notifications that their insurance premiums are up to doubling. We're talking about...
Say that again.
Your insurance, your monthly insurance...
It's going to triple in some cases. Isn't AOC bought by AIPAC? What the are you guys talking about, dude? Oh my God. Where do you get this information from? Do you guys just like live in what? Like maybe you could say like potentially J Street or something, but no, she's not AIPAC at all. Bernie's gotten J Street donations. Bernie has spoken to J Street. Bernie is a liberal Zionist. AOC is somewhere in between. I don't think she is like as avowed an anti-Zionist as like Rashida Tlaib is. Neither of these politicians are AIPAC politicians. And no, she didn't just have like a bad vote on the Marjorie Taylor Greene provision or even turn around and defend it. That's not the only reason. AOC, the expectation for AOC is that she is supposed to be one of the leaders of the anti-Zionist movement, anti-Israel sentiment. She's not. She should be, but she's not. But it's not because she's AIPAC. But AIPAC is a catch-all term, an umbrella term that people use, sometimes falsely, to describe being in the pocket of the Israel lobby. Also, Hakeem Jeffries is an AIPAC politician. And I'm defending Hakeem Jeffries here because this issue is not pertinent to the other thing that we're talking about. If a Democratic politician is doing the right thing on an issue, you have to acknowledge it. He recently got endorsed by J Street. You mean Hakeem Jeffries? Anyway, just lock in for now, okay? We're going to talk about Palestine again. I was just at a Palestine protest, man. Obviously, this is an issue that's important to me. God damn. It'll be like, we'll talk about the government shutdown. It'll be like, well, every Democrat that's messaging on this is like still an AIPAC stooge or some shit. It's like, calm down, please.
Premiums. are going to double for millions of people across the country.
At a time when we are already paying, by far, the highest prices in the world for healthcare at a time when people can't afford it right now. So what happens?
That means people getting bankrupt over chemotherapy, people going to the pharmacy and not being able to get their insulin. And frankly, it means a lot of Americans are going to be in danger. And Republicans want us to rubber stamp that. So what are we going to say to that, Bernie?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not only be in danger. Let's be clear. And I'm not, doesn't make me happy to say this, but there have been studies out there that when you combine doubling premiums for the ACA and then throwing 15 million people off of Medicaid and the ACA, the result is, according to studies at Yale and the University of Pennsylvania, 50,000 low-income, working-class Americans will die every single year. All right? If you don't have the money to go to a doctor and you're sick, you die. And that's what we're looking at. That's what this clean bill is about.
And so Republicans want us to rubber stamp that. And we're saying no. We need to stand up for the American people.
That's it. It's good, clean, wholesome messaging. They could go even harder in the paint and start talking about how Republicans want to kill the poor. That's what I would do. Because that's what this is about. I hate the game that we play all the time. And by we, I mean those on the left. And yes, this even includes like those on the left flank of politics in this country. So the Democrats as well. Where Republicans can literally be like, Democrats want undocumented migration to flow into the country so that every single immigrant can come to your house, break down your door, and rape your daughter to death. And then they'll turn around and be like, what do you mean? I'm just talking about policy. Meanwhile, Democrats don't turn around and say, Republicans basically want to kill you if you're poor. That's what it is. That is a more honest assessment of Republican policy, especially as it pertains to cutting funding for Medicaid. That's what it is. They want poor people to die. Republicans want poor people to not be able to pay for health care and die. And here we are having a conversation about whose rhetoric is violent. It is ridiculous. Republicans do not want you to realize, if you are a Republican, they do not want you to realize that they cut your health care by $800 billion so they could give tax cuts to the super wealthy in this country. Understand this. They cut your health care, your Medicaid, by $800 billion so they could at least like put a dent in the whopping tax cuts that they pushed for the super wealthy in this country. Okay? This is going to destroy rural hospitals. It's going to destroy your grandparents' chances of continuing long-term care in nursing homes because long-term care is not covered by Medicare. It's covered by Medicaid. I cannot understand how people are not more overt with this. They should have been from the start. And that's precisely what the Democrats are trying to stop here to the best of their ability, or at least make a bigger deal out of this. My fear now is that they're just going to only do this because they want to highlight this before the midterms, because they know that the cuts aren't coming until after the midterms, because Republicans are demons like that. That's the other side of the story, by the way. Republicans are not even openly cutting before the midterms so that they don't even suffer politically from this. Why didn't they stop the big, beautiful bill? There was no way to stop it. They couldn't stop it. They should have already had this exact same fight a couple months prior when there was another budget consideration. Now the Republicans are using the previous concessions that Chuck Schumer offered to continue funding the government against them. Now they're saying, oh, what now, Chuck? You didn't speak like this a couple months ago, Chuck. What's up? Is it because you're scared of AOC? Like, that's what they're saying. But he should have done it back then.
We need to stand up for our healthcare system. And if they want our votes, they need to make sure that we're protecting every American and making sure that we can do what we can to continue to make healthcare accessible, affordable, as we work to make it a human right for all.
Right. So let me just back that up. Remember, right now, our healthcare system is broken. Right now, we're the only major country on earth not to guarantee healthcare to all people. And these guys want to make it even worse. We're not going to let that happen.
No, we're not.
Thank you.
Onward.
God damn, dude. Yeah, Trump also is going to discuss budget cuts with Project 2025 author and OMB director Russell Vought. Remember, Donald Trump was like, I don't know what Project 2025 is. It's a Democrat made-up thing. I don't know how to read. And ever since he got into fucking office, that's all he's been doing is following through on Project 2025. Yeah, that's where we're at right now, man. And not only are they doing this, but they're doing this in like a blindly partisan fashion too. Like they are just so open about how partisan this is. They want to use the federal government shutdown as an opportunity to lay off more of the workforce and even take out funds away from blue states, like energy projects in blue states, energy investment that was allocated for blue states, they took out. That's crazy. That's jobs, man. That's just jobs. You're not like, you're over Republicans too when you do that. The more, yeah, we're bailing out Argentina, by the way. We took away $18 billion from transportation funds to the state of New York so we can give $20 billion to Argentina. So that maybe we can get some soybeans from Argentina. Meanwhile, our farmers, well, not soybeans from Argentina. Argentina will buy the soybeans, I assume, right? That makes a little bit more sense. Partially because China no longer purchases our soy. Money comes in, money comes out of one pocket, money goes back into another pocket. Yeah. America first is when you hand billions to Argentina and Israel and withhold money from American cities. Total supplemental energy aid approved for fiscal year 2025 is $20.1 billion. Combined with the baseline, overall approved military aid to Israel in fiscal year 2025 exceeds $23.9 billion, a record high, by the way. This excludes $4.8 billion in U.S. regional costs, like carrier deployments indirectly supporting Israel. Meanwhile, we're also giving another $20 billion to Argentina, as Russ Vought is talking about taking $18 billion away from New York City infrastructure projects to ensure funding is not flowing based on unconstitutional DEI principles. Dude, they are literally America. They are raping America, okay? I'm using aggressive terminology here, not to do like rape culture or whatever. This is literally what it is. They are raping this country, okay? Openly. And every day that they rape this country, they're saying, what are you going to do about it? That is exactly what's going on. It is insane. It blows my mind. This is not a partisan thing either, for the record. This is not like, oh, just the Democrats get f***ed over. Oh, what now, libtards? Like, dude, that is a major city where millions of Republicans also live. Okay? What the f*** are we talking about? Like California, right? California. People love talking about California. Pussy-ass California, right? Libtard, soy, California. California has more registered Republican voters than 3 red states combined. 4 red states, if you want to do the math. Like, there are more registered Republicans in California than 3 or 4 Republican states combined. There are Republicans there, too, if you want to think about it from a partisan perspective, which is crazy to begin with. Why the f*** are we thinking about it from a partisan perspective? What is going on? Once you're in office, you're the president of everybody. You're not the president of just the dumbest, most racist monsters in this country. You're my president, too. It sucks, but that's just the case. You got to start acting like it. What the f*** is this shit? No, I'm the president of an increasingly smaller constituency of psychopaths, rapists, drunk assholes, pedophiles, Zionists, the Argentinian population of anarcho-capitalists. Like what? What is that? Some of the worst douchebags you've ever seen in your entire life, and these guys are sitting around being like, nope, those are the guys that we have to care about. Those are the guys who we have to defend. the interests of, no matter how stupid it is.
When back this morning, President Trump is saying he's moving forward with more cuts to federal agencies as the government shutdown moves into day 2. And helping him make those decisions, Russell Vought, the head of the Office of Management and Budget. And as the president has mentioned, he's a key author of Project 2025, the plans that got so much attention during the campaign. Vought has already announced several of the cuts since the shutdown began and has emerged as a key member of the president's team.
You all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown.
But who exactly is Russell Vought, and how did he get all this power? Let's get more from New York Times Washington correspondent Coral Davenport, who just wrote a very extensive piece on the White House budget director. Coral, thanks so much for joining us. We just heard the president praising Vought for his cuts. How did he come to earn the president's trust, and what do we know about his plans and priorities?
Sure. So Russ Vought has been with the Trump administration since the first term. He was deputy budget director and then budget director in the first term. In that first White House term, he was involved. He kind of tried to use the power of the White House.
I didn't realize that's how you say his name either. I thought it was Vought, like on The Boys, like Vought Industries.
White House to cut off spending. He was involved in the decision to cut off Ukraine spending, which ended up getting the president impeached, to reroute money for building the wall, which ended up getting canceled, to try to fire employees kind of at will, thousands of federal employees. All of those were ideas that he really embraced, that he wanted the president to be able to do, that kind of fell apart. And he spent the 4 years of the Biden administration kind of relentlessly working. He started his own think tank. He worked with Project 2025 on this project of how can the president do these things and have them stick? And because he's a budget director, he thought of using the tools, the levers of the federal budget. How can the president get the power to cut off spending, to stop spending, to shut?
What? You cannot even recognize Armenian genocide? Are you talking about Russell Vought? Is he like, does he have a position on the Armenian genocide or something? Who's this guy talking to? Is there something about Russell Vought that I didn't know, that he's like this world looks away when Azerbaijan desecrates ancient churches and monuments? I mean, that is true, but you're in one of the very few spaces on the internet or anywhere really that doesn't do that. So it's ironic to come here to say that to me, of all people. I honestly thought this guy was talking about something that I didn't know. Like maybe Russell Vought was like a weird Turkish nationalist or something. And it turns out he's just yelling in general.
Federal agencies to fire workers, to shrink down the government to, the size that you could fit it in a teacup. He has spent all this time really working, researching, planning, mapping, strategizing this in a deeply disciplined and focused way. And
why is he so set on shrinking the federal government? Where does that even come from?
Where were you in Azerbaijan? Blocked the population for a year and desecrated ancient Armenian churches and monuments. Israel does not recognize the Armenian genocide. Israel still denies the Armenian genocide along with Turkey. And then because you spammed it, you got timed out for 300 seconds. You silent me because you do not recognize genocide. No. They silent you because you were spamming. Also, everything you just talked about, I not only recognize, but have also covered. Which is part of the reason why, because I've covered it so extensively that I genuinely thought you were talking about like Russell Vought being like weirdly into denying the Armenian genocide or something. No, you recognize, yes. Okay, then why are you yelling at me? He even spammed it in right-wing chat months ago. Oh, he's been doing it to Zach Rahr as well. You speak up against Israel or Russia, but where were you all for Armenia? Okay, never mind. This guy just kind of does that. Okay. I take it back. He does that. He's equal opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, he's a conservative's conservative. You know, he grew up in a very Christian home. He's deeply religious. He went to an evangelical Christian college, Wheaton College in Illinois. His first job in
What is this? I wonder what the Trump supporters who consistently attack me with lies that I've denied the Armenian genocide will have to say about Trump's actual denial. They don't give a shit. They'll just move on to the next thing. Damn, all the way back in 2019 too. Did he go to a rally or not yet? No, I came back from a rally.
Washington was with Republican Senator Phil Gramm, who was sort of known as the most unloved man in Washington for his efforts to cut the budget. I think he's talked about how he felt like for his parents, he grew up in a blue collar family. His parents were a teacher and electrician. That the burden of paying for federal government really dragged them down. He's also talked about his interpretation of the Constitution. He calls himself a radical constitutionalist who thinks the founding fathers wouldn't recognize agencies like the Federal Reserve. So I think he.
Why do you care about Palestine so much? Hamas murdered 1,000 innocent people. Yes, Israel's killed 1,000 people in return. But those people would have turned into Hamas militants any moment. And all of them are Hamas supporters, which killed literal innocent people. How can you be so anti-Western? Are you against democracy, secularism? Islam is literally the enemy of those before mentioned concepts. This guy is so funny because he said, sure, Israel has killed thousands of people in return, but those people would have become Hamas militants. Like, do you not understand what? I've studied the Quran. I've lived in Iran for 21 years. You tell me how I'm wrong. Like, you just openly stated, like, yeah, Israel's killed, but, you know, they should be able to do that. Like, this is such a lazy way to argue that you immediately contradict your own position. If you have, like, some sort of, if you believe human life is valuable and sacred, as I do, then it's rather odd for you to just, like, find justifications for why it's appropriate for Israel to take far more lives than Hamas ever did or ever could. I don't think you understand your position, albeit a little brain broken from, I guess, living under the Islamic Republic, is far more militant and far more fundamentalist and far more violent than even the Iranian government's position is. I hope that sits with you for a moment. I know it comes across as crazy. Like, what do you mean? Israel is good. Iran is bad. Even with all of the domestic policies and all of the violent repression from the Iranian Republic, from the Islamic Republic of Iran, Israel is still a far worse entity in the region and around the world. I'm trying to understand. It's just really hard to take into account every aspect of the situation. I've watched you a lot. Okay. Well, then listen to my words. There are many things to criticize the Islamic fundamentalism of the Islamic Republic of Iran. You can even have issues with Hamas's own governance or its actions or its form of militancy, its targets, whatever. None of that is even remotely consequential when we are discussing an ongoing genocide that one of the world's most powerful countries is committing against a captive population of Palestinians after 80 years of brutal repression and apartheid. You were not a chill Persian, my friend. I don't want to get too emotional here with my rhetoric, but it seems to me like you are quite unchill. So you do believe that Hamas has its own problems? You don't usually talk about this? Yeah, just like it is not pertinent to discussion to talk about the Allied forces and their own domestic conduct during World War II. Okay? Churchill was a monster in his own right. The American military was comprised of segregationists, homophobes, transphobes, woman beaters. Does that even remotely matter when we are talking about fighting the Nazis? It does not. It doesn't even remotely matter. It doesn't matter even one bit. It's that simple. Why do you not with Kurdish people? I don't think there's a single person that comes in here that actually watches me that has this opinion, right? Like this is got to be someone who just watched like people simply claiming that I don't fuck with Kurdish people. Dog, I've literally had Kurdish terrorists on my stream. What the fuck are you talking about? Like dudes who went and fought in Rojava that are declared terrorists by the Turkish government are good friends of mine and also have been on my stream a bunch.
Really is a true believer. He thinks that, you know, the
I feel crazy thinking that Democrats maintain the shutdown is only doing harm overall. They're the party with zero plan. The base is fully mobilized. I'm part of me thinks leaving the budget is going to get people taking action. I'm gonna be honest. I think the reason why the Democrats are doing this is not because they have an honest to God fear that healthcare is going to get taken away. I think they're far too cynical to actually make that consideration. After listening to, what's his name, Shane Goldmacher, right, on the New York Times this morning, I realized that the Democrats are probably doing this because they want to make healthcare a main priority, a main point of contention. They don't actually want to do something about healthcare, probably. If I'm looking at this super cynically, they just want the healthcare thing to be on the forefront so that people actually get mad, so that there's like one issue that they're strong on to advocate on come the midterm elections. Because like they're getting cleaned on immigration and all this other shit. So they're trying to find something to posture on and something to message around. And the only thing they got at their disposal is healthcare. And I mean, even if I'm thinking about this like in the most cynical way possible. If I am a cynical operator like the average Democrat politician is, I'm still invested in this cause because at least it moves the conversation away from like, I don't know, any number of different issues that I am fearful the Republicans are destroying me on.
administrative state is not recognized by the Constitution, and he says it's infected by, you know, federal workers who are woke and weaponized and sort of liberal leaning and aren't accountable to the president and to voters. So he comes at this from a place of kind of a true believer who has been working on this, realizing this, executing this for about 20 years.
Well, and he, as you mentioned, had an impact in the first Trump administration. Now he's got this humongous role in the second Trump administration, and it seems like there are really no bounds being applied to this presidency. And you have anti-tax activist Grover Norquist, you quote in your piece, saying that vote has, you know, been lining up the billiards shots, getting each ball in place one by.
You got to get better at preventing clippable moments, brother. Law of a Kurdish terrorist on my stream isn't a great look. Save resistance fighters that are considered, etc. Man, shut your bitch ass up. The reality of the matter is, I already mentioned that, and it's that's what happened. Okay, the reality of the matter is that is what happened. People that are declared terrorists by the Turkish government are good friends of mine. Okay, shut the up about optics because you're so goddamn concerned that they're gonna clip me out of context. They do it every day. It doesn't matter. Okay, what is this concern? Brother, you got to get better, dude. You got to get better, dude. People come in here and cynically bait you into saying stuff, and then it doesn't matter what you've done, what kind of work you have done in defense of the values that you defend every day. What matters is a clippable moment. Go yell at the people who clip it out of context and scream about this fake shit instead of trying to get me to, I don't know, speak in 10-second increments for 8 hours every day. What's next? Don't make jokes. People can actually say that you're being sincere.
One for each consecutive move. So help us understand the vision and what it looks like moving forward, because we already went through Doge. We already went through Elon Musk and all these, you know, tens of thousands laid off. What else does Vote have planned? What does he want to do?
Vote is in a lot of ways the anti-Musk. Musk kind of parachuted into Washington with so much chaos, so much haphazard action.
I don't know what the fuck this is, but it's
a really clear roadmap, a really
very
clear
rosy.
plan. And his ultimate end game is to continue to do these cuts, but he is orchestrating, essentially setting up a showdown in the Supreme Court. He believes, the people around him have told me, that if he can get these cuts, these moves to give the president the power to unilaterally cut federal spending, if he can get one of these cases to go before the Supreme Court will ultimately find that the president does constitutionally have the power to cut off whatever funding he wants, or something along those lines. And if that happens, if that end game plays out in that way, then that really just reshapes the presidency and gives this president the power to really just cut down the government and legally.
Well, Coral Davenport, you have such good deep dive reporting on the New York Times. Thanks for sharing some of it with us and helping us understand the influences right now on the president as we're charting this moment, charting forward.
It is so ridiculous that this just goes on so often over there with you guys. Dude, America is not a real democracy. We have corporate oligarchs. They run the show. We stick to fighting ourselves over idiotic, petty shit. We stick to eating each other alive. And the corporate oligarchs keep doing whatever the they want. They keep shafting the everyday guy. This is how it works. It's not even new. It has, however, gotten worse as of late.
Republicans, as everybody know, controls the U.S. Senate, controls the U.S. House, and controls the White House. In other words, they are running the government. But what is happening now, which has never happened before, is they are not sitting down and negotiating. So as of this point, Democrats have had no input into the process at all. Now, what Republicans want is to pass what is called a clean CR. In other words, maintaining the status quo. Here's why that is an awful idea and why all of us are opposed to that. In the last year, as many of you know, under Trump's big, beautiful bill, 15 million people on Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act will be thrown off of healthcare. Very shortly, you are going to be receiving notices from your insurance companies that your rates, your insurance premiums are going up by, on average, some more, some less, 75%. Yeah, you heard that correctly, 75%. Now, right now, we have a broken healthcare system. Nobody can afford healthcare. You ready for a 75% increase in your insurance premium?
Do you think the strategy of Wright using trans undocumented as a magic spell to justify taking things away from people is generalizable or universalizable to the entire grand strategy of right-wing politics? Yes, because it's not just about trans undocumented. Back in the day, it used to be black people. It still is black people. But now they say trans and undocumented too. But ultimately, that is the only way. That is the only way that the Republicans have been able to successfully demand cuts to social safety nets that every American takes advantage of. It's not a new nor unique position. Lee Atwater basically defined it when talking about the Southern strategy. Bad Biddy 101. Hasan, I'm 21. Am I too young for you? That's crazy. That's a crazy question to ask right now.
You're not, nobody is.
But in Vermont family making $82,000 family afford their
Oh my God, that's what Peter Rush sounds like? That's crazy.
premiums can go up $20,000 a year.
We want to protect access to health care for millions of people across this country. And we're willing to get in the fight for that because we've had it.
The priorities that we have at the table, and they need Democratic votes in order to keep the government open, man, they're pretty reasonable. They're pretty reasonable. What are we asking for? Just don't increase people's premiums by 75%.
Your grocery bills are going up, your utility bills are going up, and your healthcare costs, especially health insurance premiums, are going through the roof.
Who voted to repeal all of these Medicaid and
Ed Mackey? Damn, they got all the progressive senators out here. This is like the Congressional Progressive Caucus, but for the Senate. What the is Chris Murphy doing there? I guess this is his thing now.
Going up.
That's the new meta for Chris Murphy is he's with it now. I'll take it. I don't care.
Especially health insurance.
all of these Medicaid and Affordable Care Act, Medicare, and NIH.
I do hate that, like, so many of like the OG long-term, somewhat progressive or like left flank politicians in this country are also all 800 years old. Ed Markey is Hamas. It's so crazy. Like, I like Ed Markey, you know. Like, a lot of these politicians that are in this room, I don't have like a lot of, I mean, I have a lot of disagreements with, but like it's not undeniable. It's not impossible to contend with. These are probably some of the best senators we have, and they're all incredibly old. Oh my God.
Funding Republicans.
We're for a proposal that keeps the government open. But we also don't want to give Donald Trump, a lawless president, a blank check.
Save healthcare and save our republic. Those are our two missions.
I was talking to Austin about this, but he found out that Merkley, Jeff Merkley is, I think, Jeff Merkley is a no AIPAC Democrat. And Merkley also pushed for a bill titled "A Resolution Calling on the President to Recognize a Demilitarized State of Palestine." Source: New York Times. Was this a story that you covered? What the fuck is going on? What is this? This is just a Google share link. Still shits on protesters though. Yes, they all do. They're not with it. Okay. I know. Jeff Merkley's son is my primary care provider. That's funny. But yeah, he is one of the better Congress members from Oregon.
Peter Jeffries, Speaker Johnson says he's got nothing to negotiate with you over. Will you accept anything less than a permanent extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies?
The legislation that House Democrats and Senate Democrats have introduced together relates to a permanent extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits for working class Americans. Understand, in the Republican One Big Ugly Bill, where they enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, stole food from the mouths of hungry children, hungry seniors, and hungry veterans. And all of this was done so that they could provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors. And you know what? Those massive tax breaks were made permanent. Why in the world should everyday Americans, working class Americans, hardworking American taxpayers accept anything less? I mean, literally this year, House Republicans, Senate Republicans, and Donald Trump enacted massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors, for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, all to subsidize the lifestyles of the rich and shameless. And this was done permanently, and now they want the American people, not us.
He's right. It's hard to pay attention to his words because he's so sexy, but he's right. We must pay attention to his words. In spite of his sex appeal, stop objectifying Hakeem Jeffries. He is right about every single thing that he said.
Democrats, the American people, to accept anything less than a permanent extension of tax credits that make their health care affordable. Understand this, over the last few days and over the next few days, what you're going to see is more than 20 million Americans experience dramatically increased healthcare premiums, copays, and deductibles because of the Republican unwillingness to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. They're not even willing to extend it for multiple years, let alone do what Republicans just did for billionaire donors, which is to extend the billionaire tax breaks permanently. Of course, the American people should accept nothing.
Okay, he kind of flubbed it a little bit. I mean, everything he's saying is right though. It's probably not great that the leader of the leader in the House for the Democrats is incapable of putting together a coherent narrative when he is 100% correct. I don't want to shit on him too much because, like, I'm supporting him in this endeavor. I'm behind it. You know, AIPAC Shakur or not, whatever people call him, I don't care. On this issue, he's right. It's just explain the message again. It's simple. Republicans are cutting $800 billion in Medicaid because they wanted to make tax cuts for the super wealthy in this country permanent. They are taking money directly out of the pockets of the working poor in this country who struggle to make ends meet, who still have to pay a shit ton for health care, and they're taking the money from the poor to give it to the wealthy. It's like reverse Robin Hood. And we, the Democrats, must put an end to that. The reality of the matter is, they should have been doing this way, way, way ahead of time. They should have done something of this sort to get assurances before the big booty bill. But they didn't. And now we're stuck. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. Yeah. Instead of, okay, you're saying Robin the Hood, but I can totally see Hakeem Jeffries do that now and be like, Donald Trump, instead of Robin Hood, Donald Trump is Robin the Hood. Stop. We put that out there. We put that out there. It's going to happen. Oh, God. It's going to happen. Oh, God. I'm Brian Kilme. He's going to do that and then be like, mic drop moment.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker?
Democrats want to not only have health insurance for illegals, but some of your Democratic...
You disgust me. I mean, sometimes we come up with shit in this community that is disgusting, but then it literally becomes reality once spoken. Logs, I have a genuine question. Hey, man, genuine question. Why do the Dems not go out there in front of cameras and say the president is lying? He's a liar and he lies and he does nothing but lie. And call him a couple of names or something? I feel like the people will respond to that more or no. I mean, I don't know. I guess, yeah. I don't know what the actual answer is. Because, like, it's not a bad question. I guess if the standards are so low now, maybe the Democrats should also shit smear. I personally don't give a shit about the optics of it all, because I think if they were loud and proud about, like, bold policies, about things they actually care about, you know, free healthcare and shit, like, I don't care how they message it beyond that. Like, that would still be more galvanizing. That would still be more effective. People that don't support Trump know he's always lying. People that support Trump will never think he's lying. A Dem, especially Hakeem Jeffries, isn't going to convince Trump voters that Trump is lying to them. Yeah, that's true. Well, why don't you do performative bullshit? That's not entirely true. I think you can educate people on how Donald Trump is actually f***ing them over. You just have to go to them. A competent Democratic Party right now would be going to Republican houses, okay, finding Republican voters who have been frustrated because they saw their new health care bill, and go to red states, go to rural areas in person, and cut videos and be like, this is Hank Piker, okay? This is Hank Piker. He's a real salt of the earth kind of guy, okay? Victim of divorce court. wants to potentially even assassinate the judge that oversaw the family court case. Okay, that's how real of a American salt of the earth kind of guy he is. Okay, and Hank Piker owns an HVAC business. Hank Piker has to go and purchase health care. Hank Piker, as a industrious HVAC business owner, owned and operated by himself, of course, sees what his healthcare premiums are going to look like next month. He doesn't like that. Now he's just as mad at maybe even the powers that be as he was at the family court judge that him over and made sure his alimony payments were as high as possible because that's a woke, gay, libtard judge. Okay? Now Hank Pecker's mad. Bernie Sanders comes in, does a video being like, Hank, you mad? Not at the woke, gay, libtarded family court judge that made sure your child support was $5,000 a month. You are mad at the Republican Party for stealing money directly out of your pocket to give it to the billionaire and the millionaire class. You know? Boom. Do that like a million times around the country. Is this the sort of dreams you get? It's very sad, but yeah, I do dream about shit like this. Exactly. Dave Weigel on messaging. Newsom stands out as the Dem who understands the how dare you is much less effective. Trump responds to mockery. Yes and no. Because Newsom does it directionless. Even though he is kind of my goat right now because he's taking away all the attention from people like myself, so the Republicans aren't going to like prosecute me because they're too busy trying to prosecute Governor Newsom. So he is a little bit of my goat right now. He's kind of my goat. Low key. He's like a magnet for their hatred. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, dude, I see racism in the same way, and I see transphobia in the same way that I see all these other distractions, right? When the Republicans are using it. Obviously, it's a hateful way to live, and when it's reflected as policy, it's incredibly harmful to entire swaths of the population. But its utilization as a tool is distractive. It's the same reason why Republicans right now in this period of instability are focusing on Netflix for having a Coco Melon video that from a show that ended years ago that apparently has like a woke baby in it or something. And that's why Republicans are currently focused on canceling Netflix because they're stupid. They're talking about Cracker Barrel. They're talking about Netflix because they're stupid. Okay? I can't stress this enough. They are stupid. If you are looking at an unprecedented economic crisis, the likes that Americans have never experienced, I'm talking Great Depression style shit, okay? The likes that Americans haven't experienced in 100 years, and you are predisposed with woke babies on Coco Melon, you're a moron, okay? You are too stupid to operate a vehicle. That's it. And unfortunately, there are millions of people who are that stupid. But even stupid people understand when they're getting over. So it is pertinent on us and the Democratic Party to explain to them that while they are stupid, they're still getting asked by the Republicans. That's the job of good governance. That's the job of good leadership. That's the job that the Democrats are failing on. Okay? That's it. Like, imagine there's a government shutdown that's going on. $800 billion in healthcare funds is going to be taken away. Almost $1 trillion plus dollars taken away from healthcare that these guys desperately need. Okay? And they're talking about canceling their Netflix subscription. I know when you see stuff like that, when you see how hateful little monsters these dipshits have become, I know it feels like it's impossible. It feels like it's impossible to talk to these monstrous pieces of shit. Okay? Because they're so stupid that they're like, nope, I don't care. I'm going to hurt myself and you. You can't say anything about it, woke libtard. I get it. Okay? I get it. I get frustrated all the time. I have to deal with these animals all the goddamn time. Okay? Having said that, if you care about making people's lives better, you have to convince these people. Okay? Even this guy, George Wallace Lame Similes, says this idiot poser with his childish rebel politics is going to get himself killed or other people killed while he scams to make a buck on Twitch. Like this dipshit, right? I want this moron to have health care. Okay? I want this old ass, bald, loser moron to have health care. They only look monstrous because you don't understand them. The world only looks wrong because you don't understand what's really going on. Yes, brother, you have it all figured out. Okay? Listen, Unc, listen to me. It doesn't matter what you have heard about me or what you think about me right now. I'm telling you right now, whether you like it or not, I am going to nonstop fight to make sure you have free healthcare. You understand me? Free healthcare for you. It doesn't matter if you hate me. Doesn't matter if you think I have hateful politics. That's my politics. My politics is giving everybody healthcare. My politics is giving everybody free education. My politics is giving everybody housing. Okay? No matter how much you want to kill me in the process, no matter how much you hate me, no matter how much you think I am the one fomenting hatred in this country, that's what I want to do. Okay? No matter how stupid you are, no matter how bigoted you are, no matter how hateful you might get, I want you to have more autonomy in your life. I want you to have democracy in your workplace. I want you to have a shelter over your head. And I want you to have free healthcare. These are things that other governments that have far less money than we do are able to provide to all of their citizens unconditionally. Okay? And I want you to be able to have that too. Doesn't matter if you don't want it. Okay? I want to deliver it to you in an authoritarian manner. Oh, I don't want it. I'm going to vote against it. I don't care. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. If I have my way, you're going to get it. You're going to get that beautiful free healthcare. You understand? You're going to say, no, I don't want to be able to go get coverage. I don't want to be able to go to a general practitioner with regular frequency so that I can have the decent preventative healthcare so that I don't have like debilitating illnesses down the line. F you. I'm going to force it to you. Okay? I'm going to force it down your throat. You understand? That's it. That's my politics. I want to violently make sure that your life is better. Okay? That's it. This is the upside down of class reductive style messaging of channels like Breaking Points. They might be soft on the social issue side of messaging, but they're doing work on the class war messaging, the hogs. What do you think about the Democrat kitty video? I hated it. Ass.
Over in the Senate are also talking about DEI programs that Democrats want to bring back. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, there's all sorts of.
As a European, I'm very confused and how Americans have been so propagandized against free healthcare. Because what do you mean you love to spend 20% of your paycheck for insurance, but won't bother spending 2% on an extra tax for free healthcare? No, that's what it is. It's because anyone that speaks out on shit like that, people like myself, get ritualistically humiliated every damn day of the week. And they don't do it on the virtue of healthcare because they know they can't advocate on that side. Like, they can't turn around and be like, this guy wants everybody to have free healthcare. What a loser this guy is. They can't say that. So they find anything and everything they can. They find clips out of context. They find it's the same with like even someone who is far less radical than myself, like AOC or even Bernie Sanders. There's tremendous amounts of enmity towards people that want to advance the material conditions of workers in this country. The media is owned by powerful corporations who have a vested interest in ensuring that the same domineering hierarchies continue. And people are kept sedated. And it's a fairly sophisticated way of doing things for conservatives. The conservative agenda for decades has been to weaken government in an abstract sense so that Americans are too fearful to do the things government is good at, like universal programs. It has worked on the boomers a lot and a lot of the Gen Xers. Yes, Ronald Reagan and his consequences as a singular force in this country are so devastating. Ronald Reagan is the liberal FDR. He is the neoliberal FDR. What FDR and his politics did to America and his policies did to America, Ronald Reagan had the exact opposite effect. Now, I'm not like I'm not in the business of saying that people are singularly responsible for the American demise. But if there was one figure that is so pivotal that you could point to, it would be Ronald Reagan. Every single graph that tracks how shitty everything is nosedives in the 90s, okay? In the end of the 80s, every single graph. Do you think that is an accident? Every graph, dude. Like, you look at cost of living, you look at deregulation, you look at like home ownership rates. Virtually every single graph that you can point to about ongoing American demise, the starting point is Ronald Reagan. Like a little bit after, you know, for the policies to take place, the deregulatory economics to take place. Now, of course, it didn't start with Ronald Reagan. It certainly didn't. It's capitalism. It always has been, and it always will be. But Ronald Reagan as a domestic force was so powerful that it basically restructured both parties dramatically. Yes, I know Carter was bad too, chatters. I'm just talking about, like, it's like saying New Deal economics is entirely in the hands of FDR. It's not, right? There were tremendous forces that were pressuring FDR to do the right thing. And there were still limitations. But if you were to reduce it, if you were to make a reductive argument, if you were to reduce it to like a singular force that made the opposing major party damn near concede entirely to full tilt domination, FDR's New Deal era politics dominated American politics for a very long time until Ronald Reagan flipped it. And now Reaganite neoliberalism dominates American politics in the same vein. He's the reason college is so expensive. He's the reason we have conservative think tanks. He's the reason we have trickle down. He's the reason we have the war on drugs. He's the reason AIDS became such an issue. He's the reason why stock buybacks are no longer illegal. All corporate consolidation in this country that was already happening, but like the complete corporate capture and the complete corporate consolidation you have seen comes from the Reagan era. The last breath that the unions had was taken away under the Reagan era.
They can directly ruin your life. Once upon a time, a bunch of rich people sat in a room. One of them said, "Damn, I hate paying taxes." Another one said, "Bro, me too." They said, "You know what we need to do, right? We need to hire somebody to convince poor people to pay more taxes while we pay less taxes." They said, "That'll never work." Someone said, "Wait a second, I might know a guy." But you see, at this time, Ronald Reagan was a General Electric spokesperson. He was really good at convincing poor people to do whatever the rich company General Electric wanted.
Hey man, Slick Willie did a lot to help that along. Credit where credit is due. Dude, I know. But everyone that comes after Reagan, Democrat or Republican, is still absolutely following through on the attitude change. If you're thinking about like Nixon, if you're thinking about people that came before, sure, they played a role in this as well. But Ronald Reagan was the point of no return. Like Bill Clinton's neoliberal anti-welfare policies, sure, I'm sure he was like super invested in that personally. He's a piece of shit. But like Bill Clinton was responding to what he perceived as the public pressure to Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan did put up LeBron numbers. Like you're forgetting. Ronald Reagan actually did have that popular mandate. Okay, unlike Donald Trump.
But before that, he was a Democrat, an activist, very anti-racism, all for workers' rights. They said, hey, bro, we need to hire you for the opposite side. He said, you think I'm a... They said, here's a bag. He said, when do I start? You see, he took this job because his acting career was failing. So he said, hey, I'm pretty good at this. So he ran for governor of California. He won.
He was also the head of SAG-AFTRA, or SAG at the time. They hadn't consolidated yet, I think. And as the head of SAG, he literally ratted out communists in his own union. He was a snitch. So even when he was the leader of a prominent union in the country, he used his position to rat out rank and file members with what he perceived as having radical politics.
Remember, his only jobs at this point were acting and convincing poor people to do what rich people want. And rich people loved him. He was the perfect storm. They called him the great communicator. One of his exact words were, send those welfare bums back to work. They said, Reggie! He said, but you like how I said that? No, they said, he could do no wrong. So it's only natural he becomes president of the United States. He says, okay, as my first act, I'm going to take the rich people's taxes from 70%. Yeah, fun fact, people like Elon Musk paid 70% in taxes. He said, I'm going to take it from 70% to about 28%. Everybody said, whoa, that sounds kind of low. He said, no, listen, y'all not hearing me though. He said, here's the plan. They're going to be super rich, and then they're going to want to spend more money on their companies, so then they're going to hire people like you. But people back then weren't dumb. They were like, what? He's like, but we're going to also stop those welfare black people from taking your money too, even though white people took most of the welfare money. They're like, well, I don't like black people that much. Okay, you're keep going. So he steps up the charm. He goes, y'all know me. Just see what happens when I deregulate businesses and let them do what they want. It's going to benefit you in the long run. Well, he lied, but listen closely. They were in a recession at the time. But what economists know is that after a recession, usually is a time of mini prosperity, then back to recession. It cycles. So he knew that the economy was going to go back up because that's the natural cycle. So when the economy starts going back up, he's like, see, I told you. They were like, well, he was right. But in the long run, this happens. Basically, as the economy goes up, everybody starts getting paid more. But from when he became...
Dude, look at that. Every graph is like this, bro. Every graph. No, it's not a natural cycle. I mean, it's somewhat of a natural cycle, basically, under capitalism. It doesn't have to be.
President, everybody started getting paid the same while the economy went way up. What does that mean? Well, the money had to go somewhere, right? And it all went to the rich people. Yeah, right.
Like, isn't that nuts? Like, how do you look at this? How do you look at this more equitable system and then turn around and go, this is so much better? That's what's so annoying about people nowadays when they talk about, like, the good old days. What do you mean? Let's get back to the good old days. Like, the dumbest guy you know is advocating for the good old days, thinking that it was that way because, like, black people were segregated or some shit. But the real reason why was because they had better redistributive policies. Like, it wasn't socialist by any means, but at least there was more of a more equitable outcomes for everybody. When they talk about the good old days, they're talking about, like, having decent wages, being able to have one earner in the family and have, like, 2 kids or 3 kids, or even a second family on the side as a secret. Think about how much purchasing power the average dumb fuck American had, that they literally could have a second home for a second secret wife on the side, bro. That shit's unheard of. What are we talking about? Think about that. Nowadays, what's unheard of is living in a 1-bedroom apartment by the time you're like 36, 37. That's unheard of. I'm not even talking about owning a home. I'm talking about not having roommates. Okay? So when those people, when those dumb boomers and the lead generation turn around and say, oh man, we got to go back to the good old days, Republicans turn around and say, yeah, that's right. You mean black people, right? Like, you know, no more Mexicans, right? That's what you mean. It's like, and they go, yeah, that's what I mean. That's why things were good, I think. And the cycle continues. Now, of course, boomers and the lead paint generation are obviously better off overall than the generations that come after them. So for them, for their position, it's like they don't have a lot of life to live. So it doesn't really matter all that much, but they have like most of the wealth captured, or a more equitable distribution of wealth in their generation, as opposed to like millennials and Zoomers alike. But that is the design. That is the design that we have currently. The truth you're saying is making me sick.
To the rich people. Yeah, right up until 1980, laws were protecting you a lot more than you think. After hundreds of years of Theodore Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt battling, making sure workers have rights, he in one swoop demolishes it and flips it 180. And he was the only person skilled enough to convince poor people that they need to pay more money while rich people pay less. They need to not have workers' rights, and rich people can control their rights. And to this day, Reagan's policies still stick. In fact, Donald Trump just copied Ronald Reagan. Yeah, make America great again. That was Ronald Reagan's campaign slogan.
Yep.
He just took it.
It's true. Also, offloading the de facto slave economy, the global south did real well for obfuscating how much working class wages were getting, NAFTA, etc. Oh, that too, for sure. Yeah. How do you reconcile this with the fact that real wages have slightly gone up and not down since the 70s? Brother or sister or the emperor. Real wages going slightly up is nothing in comparison to the overall economy's explosive growth in that same time period, because that is this exact same distribution of wealth that we are looking at right now. It's wealth consolidation, especially when you factor in how expensive things are. You're talking about, oh, well, real wage growth happened since the 70s, albeit slightly. Okay. Real wage growth happens in the 70s, albeit slightly. Okay. Well, what about big ticket items that you need? Compare wage growth from the 70s to now, like what your wages look like now, and then compare college education. The price of college education in the 70s to right now. Wages are stagnant since then. Output has skyrocketed due to unimaginable technological achievements. Okay? Productivity has skyrocketed. American laborers are insanely productive, like incomprehensibly productive in comparison to how productive they were in the 70s because of automation and all of the wonderful technological achievements that make it so that you can basically work 11 people's jobs as one person now. Not even 11, 100 people's jobs. I mean, think about computers even. You're talking about a time when like computers didn't exist versus a time where computers do exist. And not only a time where computers do exist, but they exist on your hand, in your phone, okay? And they're on you all the time, 24/7. The amount of productivity that each laborer has now is unimaginable, incomprehensible to someone who's living in the 70s. Now, adjust that to the price of everything else. Adjust that to the price of everything else. You could buy a house for like 50 grand in the 70s. There is no home, no single family home you could purchase for like 50 grand, okay? That does not exist. You can't even buy a lot for that price. The only thing that has gotten cheaper as we offshored slave labor to the third world is commodities, cheap consumer goods, things like a television. That's it. The only thing that has actually become incredibly affordable in the time frame is junk that you throw out every 2 years. No, and also it's designed that way too. That's another problem, which is creating tremendous amounts of landfills all over the goddamn planet. But that's it. You can get a TV for cheaper. This is true. You can get a toaster for much cheaper. You can get electronics for, like, it's not even a comparison. Like back in the day, a TV was like a big item. Okay. Now you can purchase shit much cheaper than you ever could. And that makes people feel like the situation is better overall. But all of the things that you need for survival, healthcare, a house, college education for upward social mobility, have exploded in prices. Yeah, you used to get paid $25K and houses were $50K. Now you get paid $75K and houses are $500K on the cheap side. So yeah, your real wages went up, but everything is so much more expensive. Even in the 90s, the houses were tremendously cheaper in 1998 in Denver, Colorado. The average house price was $149,000. Now it's $649,000. Bro, you can just go buy a 100-inch TV, 100-screen TV for $500 now. That's all that's gotten cheaper. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing that's cheaper in comparison to how affordable it was back in like the 70s and the 80s. 10 years ago, rent was $700 and TVs were $1,800. Now rent is $1,800 and TVs are $700. Well, that's not 10 years ago. It's I would say, because where is rent $1,800? You know what I mean? This boy is in Oklahoma. He's over here like, dude, what are you talking? Oklahoma City rent is so costly, man. $1,800. I didn't even say Ohio, bro. I feel like Ohio is not even. My parents' first flat screen was $1,100, and that was after a discount because it had been dropped. They were stoked and thought it was a steal law. I can have a nice TV in my tent. Yeah, that's what it is, though. That's where we're at. It's like, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. But honestly, I think it's much better if people have houses than a new TV every 2 years. Okay? The thing is, these are not even like, these are not mutually exclusive concepts. You can have a cheap TV and cheap housing, like if you want. It's just, even if that was the trade-off, I would much rather have the cheap housing than the cheap television. Chart of the day or century, July 23rd, 2022. Price changes, January 20th to June 2022. Select the U.S. consumer goods and services and wages. Yeah, since the 2000s, if you look at new cars that have been like relatively inexpensive in comparison year over year, household furnishings, clothing, basically everything that comes from China, okay? Everything that the Chinese hands have built. And I mean China as like a catch-all term for the entire global south. TV prices, look at that. Ooh, so cheap, so good. What's that up there? Hospital services, college tuition, college textbooks, medical care services, child care and nursery school. Average hourly wages have gone up. This is because this is the American Enterprise Institute that's like pointing all this. Food and beverage housing, food and beverages and housing. The reason why they're using this chart of the day or century is to say the reason why these things are so costly is because of unions. They're claiming that this is all too costly because of average hourly wages going up. And average hourly wages are going up because of socialism. That's the reason why they're using this graph. Make no fucking mistake. Sidebar, why socialism fails. Yeah, this is socialism. That's why it's failing. My neighbor's big brother in 2007 could afford to live in a single bedroom working at a grocery store as a cashier. Now that seems insane. Things have deteriorated a lot just in the last few decades. Yes, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Trump is literally not addressing any of this shit, and he's making it worse. He is looking at a fire, and the only thing he's got is a canister of gasoline and more matches, okay? He walked up to the house that's on fire, and he said, time to dump this gasoline and light it on fire even further. That's what he's doing. He's like, I'm going to fix this.
Remember, we sent over a 24-page clean CR. They sent over this thing that you'll have to see on my website to believe it yourself, but it's all chock full of all sorts of crazy things that they want to restore, and DEI is always been one.
Oh, DEI, me.
The reason the boomers give us shit about buying luxuries is because back in the 80s, luxuries were expensive, but life was cheap. Now it's been inverted. Our life is expensive, but our luxuries are cheap. So I think this is where the disconnect's happening. For example, in 1980, you could rent a great apartment for $200, but a television would run you $1,000. So if you bought 3 TVs, that would be $3,000. A CD player was $500. A cell phone was $2,000. A personal computer was $2,500, and a microwave was $500. That's $8,500. That is 3.5 years rent on luxuries. And $8,500 was also equivalent to a 20% down payment on a $40,000 home. So it was irresponsible if you didn't budget correctly to buy all these luxuries because it could be holding you back. But today it's flipped. Our biggest luxury is our rent for $2,000. We can now buy 3 televisions for $600. We have a Spotify account, cell phone for $1,000. You can get a computer for $500, a microwave for $200. That's about $2,400 a month. So our luxuries is about 1 month's rent, where theirs was 3.5 years rent. And if you want to put this onto a down payment, even if you took the average home of $420,000, let's bring it down to just $320,000. A 20% down payment on that is $64,000. So if you gave up all those luxuries, you would still owe like $61,000. This $2,400 of luxuries wouldn't even cover your closing cost of $10,000 on that home. So the whole thing's been flipped. So I think when they see us with the TVs, the avocado toast, and the cell phone, they think that's the reason we can't move forward. But why we can't move forward is because housing, daycare, college, and healthcare is so expensive, but those are our necessities. These luxuries are just fun little things that we have. The reason the boomers give us shit.
It's the French internet. Why your video is so crisp. Yeah, it's fantastic. Anyway, whatever. F that guy. Let's get back to DEI in the bill. Good luck with that in the midterm election. Mike Johnson slams Dems for pushing woke programs. Yeah, woke programs such as sorry, I just saw something on Twitter. Woke programs such as giving the working poor just like a little bit of financial freedom in their incredibly costly healthcare. Okay? That's what's woke in DEI. You understand? Peak woke is when you say the working poor should only pay, 10 grand out of pocket for their yearly healthcare coverage, as opposed to 30 grand out of pocket. And it's extra woke when they're only making 65 grand a year. That's peak woke. What are you, woke? What are you, DEI, that you want someone who's making 65 grand a year to not pay 30 grand? How is that person going to live, dude? Like, this is what I don't understand. How is that person supposed to live? The example I'm using is a bit exaggerated. The actual numbers is like, what, 85 grand a year? 85 grand a year salary. Guy was paying like, what was it? It's like $100 with all of the, $100 a month with all of the additional, subsidies that come along with his health care. And now it's going to triple. What the f is that person supposed to do? Yeah, Warnock posted an example of someone making $65K who used to pay $300 a month, and it would be $900 a month next year. $900 a month. My mom makes $1,000 in Social Security, pays $280 in supplemental insurance for Medicaid, and $95 a month for the prescription plan for the same supplemental company. That's 4 times what it was a decade ago. The Georgia one was a household with an income of $85,000. Oh. They make more money off us if we get sick and die than preventive care. That's not even totally true either. Because it's not, it's instability. It causes too much instability if they're dying left and right. If you just have cancer and your ass is like, I can't pay for this treatment, and you just go to work before you perish every damn day, if that keeps happening over and over again, like, that's not a sustainable economy. Why don't you like winning this much? Oh my God, I know. So much winning.
They want to spend $1.5 trillion new dollars of spending is what they're demanding to keep the lights on around here. It's absurd, and they should know it. They're all wrapped around the axle about these woke progressive programs being ended, but that's what the election was about. That woke progressive stuff is what the American people rejected. Some of our Democrat colleagues here are doubling, tripling down on it. Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Oh, my God.
We're in day 2 of a government shutdown, and President Trump is threatening mass layoffs of federal workers. For more on all
this was the one I was looking at. This dude This is a household making 65 grand, okay? Already paying an insane amount. Already paying a ton, $307 a month. Now it's triple. Also, those aren't the same plans as what people are saying, which is what my initial curiosity was about this as well. Except this is a worse plan that he's paying more for. It's worse coverage, and he's paying more. Hasan Reaction is one of the best ones in the React channel.